Hello to congregation members, friends, and followers. I'm Pastor Brett Wilson. I'm here in Wittenberg, Germany. I've been serving for 2 weeks as pastor, taking a turn in the Wittenberg English ministry, leading worship 8 times in the historic churches where Luther served and where the Reformation began. And I'm standing in the courtyard of the Stadtkirche, the town church, St. Mary's Church of Wittenberg. There's the main church behind me, and there's the Capella, the smaller chapel building where I've also led worship. And I want to highlight something that is not just unique here to this church, but I have seen in my travels across Germany and Europe in recent years, which is an acknowledgement and not a hiding of the history of anti-Semitism in our Christian churches, in our art, in our theology, and in life and history of these places. So above me, up on the church facade there where I'm pointing, is a stone relief that dates from the late 1200s, which is of a pig, a sow with piglets, and it is a anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic relief aimed to depict the Jewish people in this negative way. And so the choice has been made to not ignore it, to not hide it, to not take it down, and also to not just let it be there without explanation, but to actually name it, the anti-Semitism and hate, and to work to put an end to it. Here and in other churches I've visited, there is literature and explanation about this history of anti-Semitism, about the iconography and the way this appears in art, about how Jewish people were depicted and shown. And so that's a really powerful message that goes out that says we're not abiding by this anymore, we're not going to hide it, and we're going to explain it. In the 80s, surprisingly during DDR times when not a lot of initiatives like this were happening, the town church here and the city took an initiative to plant this Lebanese cedar as a symbolic part of a memorial to end this anti-Semitism and to be a symbol of peace. And as the cedar of Lebanon is in the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, a symbol of God's presence and reconciling peace that will be brought. And in 1988, they installed this memorial here, which is symbolic in that it has these 4 pieces of stone that form a cross, but then welling up from within it, this kind of bubbling image that is meant to represent the anti-Semitism that corrupts and has harmed Jewish people and also the world and the church. They have an explanation plaque here that boldly states this history. It says, since around 1290, an offensive anti-Jewish sculpture, the one up here, has been displayed. Jews are obscenely depicted with a pig, an animal considered impure in Judaism. It goes on to talk about the history of this, the history of Martin Luther's anti-Semitism, and needing to reckon with that, and then about the installation of this memorial. And then the last paragraph on this marker says, the congregation of the Wittenberg Town Church dissociates itself from anti-Semitism and hatred against Jews. We ask God and the Jewish people for forgiveness of this blasphemy and the insult against all Jews. The Protestant Church acknowledges its responsibility to critically examine and give an account of its contribution to the centuries-long history of violence against Jews and to stand actively against anti-Judaism and anti-Semitism. It's powerful. Why is it still relevant today? Is this just done? Sadly, no. We know that this is relevant because of that these things have not gone away completely, and that the world, our cultures, our churches, because there are people in them, continue to struggle with hatred in many forms, and that it's important that we speak out against it, that we educate about our history, that we boldly claim what is of God and what is not. So just wanted to show you this witness and one way that the church is witnessing here. I also think it's really important to remember that this is not long ago history, that we continue to see acts of hatred and violence that we know of, and in our short-term memories of how quick news happens. Yes, we know that things have happened even in recent years and months, but also here in town, I was given a personal tour by one of the locals who grew up here, and he pointed out to me just a block from here a home where on Kristallnacht a woman who he could tell me her name and her family who he knew was dragged out of her home and harmed and made to wear a sign that said, "I am a Jewish sow," just like this relief and other obscene things on there. So we cannot imagine that things like this don't and won't happen again, but we can be a part of making sure they do not.